make the rounds. Then I double back, cause I'm going twice around. I'll make the rounds.
So the hype is real, ladies and gentlemen. We've been speculating for a long time about this. We've seen the whole trailer featuring Luke Skywalker, Best Spin Luke, in this little trailer. It got us all going a couple months ago. We thought Luke Skywalker was coming to the game. Few months passed. We thought maybe it was a dud, and all of a sudden, we get this client update that actually threw me off when I was recording a video of my Director Krennic Zeta leadership team. But holy cow, Commander Luke Skywalker is coming to the game. We have a lot to talk about. There's more just beyond Commander Luke Skywalker, a whole slew of reworks that are coming that have been in real demand in the community. So I'm really excited to talk about this stuff today. No gameplay. So in this newsletter, I'm not going to read it line by line. You guys can do most of the reading yourself. But this guy is going to have 6 abilities. 3 of them will have Zeta upgrades. And they also tell us how we're going to unlock this character. So we had this whole hero journey flash event from a while ago. And we're kind of scratching our heads thinking, what the heck? What's the whole purpose of this? And I guess now it's starting to make more sense. And in this event, we're going to unlock Luke Skywalker at 7 stars. I guess there is no 5-star unlocks. This is something really special in the game. I'm kind of, as much as I'm a big Empire fan, this is definitely kind of exciting. And the way we unlock it, it's kind of eventful. We're going to need characters such as Old Ben, that's pretty awesome, Princess Leia, Stormtrooper Han, Luke Skywalker, Farm Boy, and R2-D2. But to be honest, trust me, I'm kind of excited that Luke Skywalker is coming to the game, but I'm really excited for these reworks. If you guys recall, a couple weeks ago, I did a video on the reworks that you guys wanted. We got a lot of survey results. I even sent that survey to the development team. No idea if this had any effect on what they decided to rework, but we're getting an old Ben Kenobi rework. That was a really highly requested rework, and I did an in-depth review a while ago, and towards the end of the video, but by taking your feedback as well as my own opinions, just giving Old Ben a taunt would take this guy to a whole other level. So I'm really on edge, really wondering what these guys are planning. So that's kind of on my high list of what I'm really excited for. But we're also getting Princess Leia. Stormtrooper Han, I was really surprised to see on this list. I think he's already a pretty solid character, by far one of the best beginner tanks in the game. And then Luke Skywalker Farm Boy is finally getting a rework. So we have the daily shards for this month, and I'm like, why are we getting free shards of Luke Skywalker? He's not all that great. He's listed as a youngling on my Hall of Fame table, and he's getting a rework. And another thing that was really requested by you guys in that video where we were talking about reworks is Han Solo. The raid Han Solo, I presume, since they already talked about Stormtrooper Han, and apparently he's also going to be getting a rework. It's not in the game yet, and he's not needed for this Commander Luke event, so that's good. We don't need R2-D2 and Han Solo, but it's also great to hear he's getting a rework because with all the auto taunts in the game, it really diminished Han Solo's viability in Arena, so really curious about that. But on my list, I'm more excited about Old Ben Kenobi, and to showcase how excited I am, I'm actually going to do something a little bit wild, I think. Way back when, before I started YouTube and Old Ben Kenobi became a free-to-play character, I farmed this character right away. He was my favorite character for the very longest time in this game. Until Emperor Palpatine came in, Old Ben was probably my favorite character. I loved this kit. It was really advanced for his day and age, and I can bump him to Gear 11, and that's what we're going to do right now. We're going to take Old Ben to Gear 11, and fingers crossed this rework's going to be good so I don't regret this moment. So let's go ahead, pop on this gear that we have here, and there we go. We got that. Let's go ahead and upgrade him. And I don't know if I'm not going to go that far and give him the rest of the stuff, but we have to kind of see what his kit's like before I go a little too far into it, because he needs some complicated things like a Mark 6 thermal detonator. These are very hard for me to get a hold of. And look, the hype is actually really real in my guild. Like, look at this. We have a ton of... Everyone saw the patch notes. They're like, holy cow, we got to start gearing up these characters. Look, Old Ben, Luke Skywalker, Old Ben, Luke Skywalker, and then there's me at the bottom bumping up Old Ben to Gear 11. I'm really excited about it, but man, look, we have another Luke Skywalker, Stormtrooper Han. People are already talking about how Luke's kit is sick, man. All right, so we're on the official forums now, ladies and gentlemen. I'm leaving a link down below in the video description if you want to check this out yourself. This is definitely one of the most intricate and one of the most detailed posts they have announced in a long time, which is, and goodness, look at that. You see all of these abilities listed. Holy cow, this guy is jam-packed. He's going to be a determined rebel hero who can ignore debuffs or ignore taunts. His basic is called Destined Strike, and oh my goodness, look at this. 17,000. Of course, you have to beat up Empire characters. It hurts me deeply, but man, look at that. 17,000 damage. So he deals physical damage to the target enemy and inflicts speed down and defense down for 2 turns. And if the target already had speed down, you get to remove 30% turn meter. And if the target already had defense down, you inflict stun for 1 turn. So kind of like Grand Admiral Thrawn, if you have speed up, it turns into ability block. If you have ability block, it turns into stun. And this can open up a lot of possibilities for synergizing with other characters. As I'll show with my Director Krennic video, Grand Admiral Thrawn synergizes very well with ability block teams. Director Krennic has a lot of ability blocks from his leadership, which means more stuns for Grand Admiral Thrawn using his basic. So this opens up the possibility of synergizing very well with characters that already apply speed down or defense down, so Luke can just go straight to either stunning the character if they have defense down or removing 30% turn meter. And this probably also means it's going to be very useful for the Rancor since it removes 30% turn meter. So very impressive for that ability. That's a crazy basic attack. 17,000 damage on a crit. I'm not even sure how they're modded. And if we look closely, I can't tell if these are already the oh my goodness, look at this. I just noticed this. Old Ben has a taunt. Look at this. It's showing it right there. I don't know if that was intended to be there. This must be the reworked character, guys. Old Ben is going to have a taunt. Holy cow, that's insane. I'm kind of a loss for words right now. That's gonna really change the game. Having Old Ben taunt, directing fire towards him, that can be pretty deadly in arena, especially, oh my goodness, I'm kind of running a lot of thoughts in my mind. That's gonna be pretty crazy. Old Ben has a taunt. That was something we always thought about. When Old Ben first came out, we're like, man, this character could be great with a taunt. But enough talking. I'm really excited about that. So maybe my Gear 11 bump for Old Ben wasn't totally useless. But let's look at his special attack. Use the Force. And of course, another insane ability. Look at this. That's 16,761 damage. So 2 attacks that are hitting in the double digits right there. And with that, he can dispel all the buffs on the target enemy. So there aren't any buffs on Short Trooper here, so we can't tell. But he removes 100% turn meter and inflicts buff immunity and tenacity down for 2 turns, and he reduces the cooldown of this ability by 1 if the target didn't have full health. But dispelling buffs, it's going to be amazing. Buff immunity, that is something that's really popular. It's great that you can dispel the buff, but it's also important that you can apply buff immunity, for example, because General Kenobi taunts quite a lot, and just because you got rid of his first taunt, he can just taunt again a second later if you critically hit someone. And now we got call to action, and look at this. They kind of preview the ability. Holy cow. I keep saying their abilities keep getting longer and longer and longer, and I feel like at some point they're going to start making you download a Word document so you can kind of read through everything. That's a lot to take in. He dispels all debuffs on himself, and then Luke gains 100% turn meter and recovers 40% health and 40% protection. Yowza, that's a lot. And if Luke doesn't have the call to action unique buff, which I'm guessing is that nice little unique symbol we see there, he gains it until the next time this ability is used, and it has a 4-turn cooldown. And what call to action does is that Luke ignores taunts during his turn and has plus 50% accuracy, plus 50% critical chance, holy cow, and does plus 50% critical damage. That's probably why we're seeing all these big damage dealing attacks, because of this buff he's giving himself, and it can't be dispelled or prevented. So buff immunity is not going to stop him from getting this. This is, it's pretty big. He's going to just use this ability and quickly cycle into his next ability and use an attack of some sort. And this guy will have a leader ability, Rebel Maneuvers, and Rebel allies have plus 50% counter chance, plus 50% defense, and plus 15 offense whenever an enemy resists a detrimental effect. Rebel allies gain 5% turn meter. Goodness, we're still reading. We're on to, I don't know, his 29th ability here. It's called Learn Control. So what it does is when Luke doesn't have that call to action buff that we talked about earlier, he has a plus 50% counter chance, plus 50% critical avoidance, okay, plus 50% defense, plus 100% tenacity, and gains 10% turn meter whenever another Rebel ally takes damage. And lastly, unique ability, it binds all things. Luke has plus 40% potency, and whenever Luke resists a detrimental effect, he recovers 5% health and 5% protection, kind of like the Grand Admiral Thrawn leadership. And one thing that's really cool is that they give you a general idea of the strategy you should be using and the hero synergies, and now they're kind of moving on to some cool things. With this counter chance that Luke grants, they're saying load up your team with high damage attacking rebels. So let's say Wedge, Biggs, maybe Princess Leia after her rework, Han Solo perhaps. There's a ton of great damage dealing characters, or maybe even Ahsoka Tano Fulcrum might have a position in here. And they're saying you have to be careful when someone's using an AoE against Luke, because that AoE might be worse than what's going to happen as a result of all the rebels counterattacking. And lastly, with this call to action, they're kind of making this seem like Bounty Hunter's Resolve, which is what Boba Fett has. He can ignore taunts. They're kind of showing this. Let's say you're stuck behind Kenobi, you're stuck behind Shore Trooper or Baze or whatever other tank out there. You can use this call to action, gain that 100% turn meter, and let's say Darth Nihilus is on the brink of defeat. You can ignore that taunt, go for Darth Nihilus, and finally get rid of him before he gets cleansed, before he gets healed. So that is going to be a very important ability. And this, I'm actually starting to be excited that I just went and bumped up Old Ben to Gear 11. Using rebels of AoE debuffs such as Obi-Wan Kenobi, Old Ben, KCN, R2D2, Scarif, Rebel Pathfinder under a Luke lead can help versus enemies that repeatedly apply Tenacity Up, aka Captain Rex, and I think he's pretty much the only one that really uses Tenacity Up. Yoda, I guess, as well. And a full 5 enemies resisting an AoE debuff supplies 25% turn meter to all rebels, which would be doubled to 50% when figuring that Old Ben's Might Tricks applies 2 debuffs. So if you guys watch the videos with me and Mobile Gamer, we usually banter around, we have fun, and sometimes we talk about what we're working on. And a while ago, I said, you know, I'm working on R2D2 because, you know, I feel like he's got to have some sort of importance in this game beyond just unlocking him in that R2D2 event, and here it makes sense. With all the counter-attacking and Jedi Luke leading, it's going to be what they call a match made in heaven, because with all the counterattacks and all the critical hits potentially, it gives you more opportunities for your light side allies to clear all the debuffs from themselves. If you know R2D2 Zeta, it's going to work great for this leadership. Even as a guy who loves my Empire characters, this is a character I'm definitely excited for. I don't think we have the gear requirements for this character. Let me go and check it out real quick. And no, it doesn't look like his kit has been data mined yet on swgwh.gg, so we don't know what his gear requirements are. We don't know what his stats look like. Is he a fast character, slow character? From the little screenshots, it looks like he will have a decent amount of health and protection. But if it's any indication, when we see Fulcrum, Ahsoka Tano, R2D2, Grand Admiral Thrawn, who are 3 of the more recent insane characters that have come to this game, their gear requirements have been really high, sometimes absurdly high, with all the Carbantes and stun cuffs perhaps. So we have to wait and see, but overall, even if his gear requirements are tough to meet, it seems like he's going to be a very solid character, a character you know will be pretty important in this game. So I don't know. You guys let me know down below what your thoughts are. As an Empire lover, I am kind of excited about this. This is a big moment in the game, and hopefully I can be a part of this, maybe get you some footage whenever this event comes out, before it comes out, so we can kind of talk more about this character. But until then, guys, be sure to comment down below what you think about, like this video if you did enjoy it, and make sure you subscribe. Harrison Dula and Kaden Jarrus in-depth review coming up this weekend, so stay tuned, and we will talk again very soon. Peace out.